Hello, everyone. I'm Hezran from Prodigy.ai, bringing secrets and insights of Ivy League schools to your screens. Today, we're thrilled to have a special guest who is Stanford alumni. Please welcome Muchemi to our podcast. Hi, Muchemi.
Hi, Isran. It's nice to meet you, and I'm
Th-
excited to chat today.
Thank you for joining us. It's fantastic to have you with us. Could you start by sharing a bit about your role at Stanford and what your day-to-day responsibilities entail and being alumni from Stanford?
Yeah. So right now, I currently work in finance within Stanford, but it's very special to me because it's my alma mater. So being involved and just I enjoyed my experience so much that I decided to stay beyond my student years.
Wow, nice. All right, now let's dive into the questions that our IB aspirants are eagerly waiting to hear about. Now, Mashemi, what does Stanford prioritize in the student application, and how should students highlight these aspects? I mean, we are curious to know the key elements Stanford focuses on when evaluating applications. Are there any specific traits or achievements that stand out?
So I will start by pointing out that there's two kind of different admission processes. There's one for undergraduate and there's one for graduate students. So what I can speak of mostly is the graduate student part of it because I went through it. Um, and so the main difference is for graduate students, of course, the process is very decentralized. It's on the departmental level. The department forms a committee and they select students versus on the undergraduate admission part where you're not applying to a program, you're applying to the school, and you don't get to decide on a major until your third year. So for the graduate admission, it's very important to for the applicant to remember that this is a research university, right? One of the things that you must have, of course, is research experience or an interest in
Mhm.
in research. I've seen students come from straight from undergraduate in other schools to straight to a PhD. I know in some countries, I myself I'm from Kenya, so the norm back where I'm from is going from undergraduate to a master's to a PhD, but it is not the case. A master's is not required to pursue a PhD here. Uh, so I would say on that application, it's very important to emphasize your your research experience or your research interest and make it as specific as possible, because um, you must have a supervisor for the research you want to do, and the advisor that you want is not going to select you unless that their interest or their research matches your research interest. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna kind of be an employee when you're doing research at Stanford. So those two, you have to align with the supervisor in terms of what you want to do.
All right, thank you for that. Now, how important is the interview in Stanford admission process, and how should students prepare for it? I
Mhm,
mean, we know many students are very anxious about the interview. Can you
mhm.
shed some light on its significance and offer tips and how to excel during the crucial part of the process?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've had people and people say is that so it's of course if a student is applying here or to or to other schools in the East Coast, there's the some I mean they're brilliant, right? But you can be the best of the best students, but if you don't know how to sell your story, then that can be an issue, because you only have whether it's it's an interview for the a PhD program, you only have a limited time to impress. So I would say, in addition to concentrating on your academic interests, it's also important to also practice and be comfortable, talking to people, and just selling your story, because it will be, of course, it will be unfortunate if you can do it, but you can articulate that you can do it. So those two are equally important.
Right.
So I would say start building the confidence when it comes to uh, public speaking skills, and just to know that it's okay to brag. In fact, you are expected to brag, right? So because don't don't be humble, because if you're too humble, you're gonna shortchange yourself. So brag is all I can tell somebody.
All right. The bragging is the key.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you
Mhm.
discuss the
Yeah.
role of demonstrated interest in Stanford admission decisions? I mean, does showing a strong interest in Stanford impact an applicant's chances? What are the effective ways of students to convey their
Mm.
enthusiasm for the university?
I would say, if this makes sense, it's important but not essential. I mean, if the
Mhm.
connection is not there, because okay, for the especially when you're applying to graduate programs, mostly
Mhm.
you're not expected to look at the school itself. You're expected to look at who you want to work with in terms of faculty, right? So if you have a connection to Stanford, then of course that can help, but it's not essential. It's even better not to point it out if it doesn't exist, than to kind of make up something to show a connection, which of course, if it's not there, it's not there.
Right.
So I would say, um, look at the programs that a school has, and also the member of faculty that you want to work with, because you can have a connection, but if the school doesn't align to what you want to do and the direction you want your future to take, then I don't think that's ideal.
Right. Now, what are
Mhm.
some common mistakes applicants make in their Stanford application? Avoiding pitfalls is a key to a strong application. But what are some frequent
Mhm.
errors that you've noticed, and how can applicants steer clear of
Yeah.
them?
So I've met the funny thing is, I've met people who I've met someone who read my application when I was applying, right?
Mhm.
And they remember the application, and not just mine, but for the other people who admitted. I would say, admission, whether it's in the department, the graduate level, or even undergraduate level, they're humans, so do not bore them on the first paragraph, because if you lose them in that first paragraph, um, it's really hard to come back. So I would say make it as impactful as you can make it, right?
Right.
So but if because they have hundreds of applications to read, you want them to advocate for you. I mean, to remember your application and to make a case to the committee. So I would say engage them as much as you can.
Right. And what specific qualities does Stanford look for in a prospective student? I mean, beyond academics, what personal attributes or extracurricular involvements does Stanford value most in their prospective students?
So I wouldn't be in a good position to answer that, because um, every I mean, even on the a PhD application or a master's application, every application is different, right?
Mhm.
But when they're curating, when schools like Stanford are curating students, they want to they well, how would I say this? So they want each one of them to make an individual contribution, right? So it is kind of not possible. There's nothing that I wouldn't say. All my understanding is that they're not reading those applications as we're trying to find these. Uh, People who read those applications will, kind of look at look at it like, okay, I'm assembling a team here. Like I myself, like I love soccer or football, as as we call it in many places of the world.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm a Chelsea fan right now, and right now their team looks so confused because we have so many players, and really not everybody's gelling. You can have a team just full of midfielders, right? So you need those unique positions. So there, of course, recruitment has a vision, but there is no, I would say, it's mostly on the applicant part to convince the admission team that you need me in that school, right? So, and that can be, of course, everybody. If you look at grades, then everybody can have A's and people. And yes, most likely, folks who apply have good grades, all of them. So it's also important to find things that are unique to you, that are going to set you apart from the next person and the other person.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. How does Stanford weigh standardized test scores in their
Mm-hmm.
admission process? I mean, we know the role of
Mm-hmm.
standardized tests have evolved over the years. How
Yeah.
does Stanford University currently views test scores, and how much weight do they carry in the overall admission decision?
So, like for that, I can only tell you my understanding of,
Mhm.
the recent few years. In that, if you look at schools such as Stanford and other schools in the East Coast, because of starting from the pandemic, they had suspended standardized tests, right? But right now, some of them have brought back that requirement, as opposed to it being test optional. But even when it was test optional, there are students who opted to submit their scores, right? I would say if they have decided to, the schools that have decided to bring it back is because they are convinced that at least, standardized tests do a good job in filtering, or in, giving you an idea of how much rigor an individual applicant, can take, right? So I do not know, why, how much how much weight they put on those standardized tests
Mhm.
when it comes to the decision making process. But I look at it as, if they have brought it back, then they hold weight, and it's important for the applicant to put all their best in testing.
All right. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us today, everyone. I hope you found this discussion with Muchemi insightful and valuable. To quickly recap, we delved into the admission process at Stanford University, gaining the first-hand look at what it takes to stand out and succeed. Special thanks to Muchemi for sharing your deep insights and giving us an insider view into the world of Stanford admissions. Your expertise and advice were truly enlightening. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from Prodigy.ai, make sure you subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us bring the best content possible. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Prodigy.ai for updates, and share this episode with anyone who might be benefit from it. Once again, thank you for listening. I'm Hizran from Prodigy.ai. Until next time, keep striving and excellence for excellence and reaching for your dreams. Goodbye and take care.